This Club World Cup may as well be called the East Coast World Cup because, bruh, none of these games are near me. Welcome back to F9 TV. In case you are unable to read in my accent, today we are doing predictions for the Club World Cup. Now, I do think this particular go around of the Club World Cup seems a little bit different, doesn't it? It seems like teams are taking it a little more seriously. Seems like clubs are really wanting to actually put up a good fight this year. I can't imagine why that might be. Well, for whatever the reason might be, today we're going to be doing predictions. And I'm not going to lie, this is, in terms of making predictions, this was when I was looking at the groups and everything. This is going to be the hardest one that I've done since AFCON. And the reason I say that is because a lot of these clubs are built to compete domestically, or they are just the cream of the crop domestically. And what are they going to actually, how are they going to look when they match up against other clubs from uh, top five leagues? It's going to be really interesting, unless you're Seattle. But anyway, without further Freddy ado, let's go right ahead and get into the standings. But really quickly, like and subscribe. Now let's get into the standings. So now that I find myself in a safe position here in the corner, how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to pull up the group, and what we're going to do is go in ABC order, and I'm going to show you my predictions on where I think that specific team is going to be. Instead of going 1 through 4 or 4 through 1, I'm just going to go in order. I think that'll make things a little bit chaosy. And you know what? That's what we're here for. So in Group A, and I'm not going to lie, Group A is one of the toughest groups to actually predict because on paper, I think they're actually all pretty level. Now, the first team, if we're going in ABC order, is Al Ali out of Egypt. And I'm not going to lie, I would argue that they may, at least here in my country, in the US, they're arguably the second most popular team in Egypt. I would say Pyramids are more of a club that people know more here. And then when I turned on the TV, I see Pyramids on TV more than I do Al Ali. So, but that said, that's not taking anything away from them, because if you look at the standings, I mean, Ali is on fire right now, and they've scored the most goals in the Egyptian Premier League by quite a bit. It's not even really close. I mean, they're nearly double digits ahead of the second closest team. Um, they don't allow many goals either. They've got a 13 plus 13 goal differential right now, and they've only played 8 games. So that should tell you a little bit about it. And I'm not going to lie, I think they're going to sneak in, and I think they're going to get second. You heard it here. Now, if you look at the next club on the actual, I guess, ABC order, and that's Inter Miami. Inter Miami. What's funny is you could make an argument to me that Inter Miami is going to finish fourth or first, and I can't say much back because you're going to have valid arguments for it. I think with Inter Miami, the biggest thing is what version of Inter Miami are we going to get, and are we going to get that class version that we know that the players, we know Suarez, Messi, Alba, Busquets, we know they all still have it, but do they have it consistently? Especially when we're looking at a guy like Suarez, right? We know he's barely moving out there sometimes. Now, is he going to be able to handle that pain and pick it up? I don't know. Messi, I think, has regressed, and I don't know what we're going to get from Inter Miami, and because of that, I've got them finishing third in this group. Now, the next club is out of Brazil, Palermas, and this one this one's interesting because if you're just doing a quick glance, they're only 1 point behind leading the league right now, and they've got one game in hand as well. So by the time I don't know what their schedule looks like, to be honest with you. I'm assuming they're going to have another game before the Club World Cup, but or leave even a couple. So by the time the Club World Cup starts, they may actually be top of Serie A. But uh, their goals, in terms of in comparison to other clubs in Brazil, their goals aren't coming at quite the rate that other clubs are, and that scares me a little bit, especially in this group where every goal is going to matter. And with the firepower of the other clubs in this particular, I've got them finishing fourth, and my reason is because the firepower that exists in this group, they're going to have to score, and right now that's something that they're struggling with domestically. So how am I to say that they're going to not struggle against quality teams like this? So I've got them finishing fourth. I know, I know, and then topping off the league, I've got a club that I'm not necessarily confident in this pick, but I've got Porto finishing first. And Porto, in terms of in their domestic league, they were pretty much the best team outside of Sporting and Benfica, basically. And you know they score quite again a lot of firepower here. If you look at them in comparison to Benfica or Sporting, then you're going to say, oh, they don't score that much. But I promise, look at the rest of the league. I don't think anybody came close to them outside of the top two. And yeah, I just think in terms of a whole team, I think on paper they're probably the safest pick here, and for that reason, I've got them finishing first. So let's get on to Group B. Now let's pull up Group B, and Group B, thankfully, is nowhere near, at least to me, as confusing as Group A. Now Group B, you've got, in my opinion, two clubs that just stand out above the rest. And I'll start in ABC order again, just like the last one. At first, we got Atletico Madrid. Pretty straightforward. I think they're the second best team in this group, and I think they're going to get second. Nothing else really left to say there. And next, we got Botafogo out of Brazil, and take everything I said about Palmeiras and make it a little bit worse. And to me, that's Botafogo. So if I have to put a number on it, I'm going to say they finish. I'm going to say they finish third. But to me, this is interchangeably with fourth, and I'll get to that in a second. And next on the list, we've got PSG. And I mean, look, PSG, best team in the world. Champions League shows that. My only concern might be with PSG is how serious are they going to take this, and are they going to be on a hangover? If neither of those are the case, they're going to breeze through this group and finish first. And unfortunately, the sacrificial lamb here is the Seattle Sounders, who I've got finishing fourth. I think the winner of Botafogo and Seattle, when they actually match up, is going to be the third place winner, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Serie A over MLS. So pretty straightforward group here. I don't really have much to say. Let's get on to Group C. Group C, to me, has a big club in it that I don't think is going to move on, but I also think this is a lot more similar to Group B than it is Group A. And the first club we've got is Auckland City. And no offense to Auckland City, uh, their supporters and club should be absolutely proud that they got here, but you really got the wrong draw here. And I don't think, I think if they get a draw in any of these games, then they punched above their weight. Unfortunately, I don't see them putting up much of a fight here. I've got them finishing fourth. The next club is Bayern Munich. And look, they are on paper the best club in this group, and I think that's how they're going to finish as well. I think Bayern Munich is just too good for any club in this group, and I think they're not going to have much trouble getting first place. Now, Benfica and Boca, the next two clubs on this list, I think is probably going to be. Let me say this. I wish it was going to be closer than what it is because I do like Boca, especially Edison Cavani. But I've got Benfica finishing second in this group. They just narrowly missed out winning the Portuguese league. And in fact, it was just by 2 points. And if they had won their last game, I believe they would have tied on points, but I think still lost the Portuguese league by goal differential. Don't quote me on that. But I've got Benfica finishing second, and this is not a unfortunately this is not a popularity contest or based off how big of a club you are. So I think Boca is going to finish third in this group, um, which pains me to say it because I love the history of Boca, and I really and Edison Cavani is one of my all time favorite players, dating back to his time at Paris Saint-Germain, and yeah, I've got them finishing third. So let's move on to a little more difficult of a group, and that's Group D. And as I pull up Group D, just a side note here, I'm not sure why Google still has Club Leon in that fourth spot. That is, of course, now belongs to LAFC after they beat Club America. At the time of this video, it was last night that they beat them. So I don't know, I'll try my best here on the screen. I don't know how it's going to look, but I'll try my best to put LAFC there in that particular place. But in this group, we've got Chelsea as the first club up in ABC order. And look, on paper, Chelsea is the best team um, in this group, but I don't know if they are going to want it as much as the other clubs are. I, based purely off instinct, I'm going to have to pick Chelsea to win this group, although I'm not particularly comfortable with that pick. And the next club up is Tunis out of the lone representative out of Tunisia. And shout out to Tunisia here. So I, I'm sure, like a lot of you, you probably don't know a whole lot about this club. They did win the Tunisian. I don't know what their league is called. The first league, Premier League, the Tunisian Premier League, whatever it's called. They did end up winning that. They had a pretty impressive goal differential, 57 for 22 against, which is a plus 35 goal differential. Surprisingly, that is probably not the most impressive feat that happened in the table. But that said, that still has nothing to do with the actual Club World Cup. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pick them finishing fourth, although I'll get into it in a second. I do think that there's a slight chance they can move up at least one spot. The next club in this group is Flamengo, and I do think that they are the strongest Brazilian club right now in this tournament. I think they are in the most form. I think they have the best squad that's most equipped for this World Cup. Or, I'm sorry, not World Cup. Jeez. Looking like a Chicago reporter over here. But in this Club World Cup. And for that reason, I've got them finishing second. And then last, I've got LAFC, which initially on paper, I'm going to have to have finishing third. LAFC is an interesting club to watch out for, though, in this group because they are very. Look, the talent's there, right? The talent is there to pull off an upset. They've got experience, they've got a lot of good players. But how do they match up against a club like Chelsea, Flamengo, and even Tunis? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. I think they're a tough club. Um, I just can't. I don't have it in me to pick them finishing second as much as I would love to have an American club do it. But I've got to have them finishing in fourth. Sorry to the Frenchmen, Giroud and Loris. I just don't see it happening. So let's move on to Group E. Group E is going to have some very interesting matchups. I mean, how cool is it going to be to see River Plate versus Inter? I mean, that's going to be an insanely cool game to me. But getting into the actual predictions, look, the first team on this list is Inter Milan, and look, they did just get destroyed in the Champions League, and that was PSG's day. and I don't think that's going to have any kind of. And matter of fact, I think that may actually fuel them to do better in this tournament. But even with or without what happened in the Champions League, I would have Inter Milan finishing first in this group. The second team on this ABC order table, I guess, is Monterrey. And with Monterrey, the thing to know about them is they are the club that signed Sergio Ramos. But I don't think having a near 40-year-old, possibly one of the best defenders to ever play, ever, I don't think it's going to have much merit here at this particular time because I do think they are slightly above average Liga Meki team. So I've got them finishing third. Uh, the next club on the list is River Plate. Unlike Boca, I do think they got a little bit more of a favorable draw. And although if River Plate is playing Boca, I may take the side of Boca on this particular time. I'm going to have to say that River Plate will sneak in, finishing second. And that, of course, leaves the Urawa Reds. And I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. And shout out to the J League, by the way. They do not get the, I guess, the respect that I think they deserve. I have watched a few J League games. The Chinese Super League, the J League, and the K League all come on in the very, very wee early morning hours here where I live at. So I do sometimes check out some of the games. And if this was a table best off the coolest names, look, the Red Diamonds. I mean, that's pretty sweet, right? But to be honest with you, they're not. They're a good J League team, but they're not the most impressive J League team. Unfortunately, I don't think they hold up in this tournament very well. So I've got them unfortunately finishing fourth, but shout out to the J League and the representative. Let's get into the next group. So now we move on to Group F. And the first club up is Dortmund. And I think Dortmund is going to finish second in this league. And I know there's probably a lot of people who have them finishing first. But I'll get into it's not what they don't have versus what another club does have. Now, that said, got them finishing second and moving on. Now the next club is Fluminense. And I think the Brazilian clubs overall are going to be a little disappointed in this Club World Cup. That's not to say that I think they have bad squads. It's just I think they caught a lot of bad draws and caught a lot of bad teams at the wrong time. I think they're going to finish third, although I do think this entire group is up for grabs. And so I want to add that in there with all due respect. The next club up is the Sundowns out of South Africa, who, by the way, today just lost Africa's version of the Champions League by 1 goal to Pyramids, a club that I brought up earlier in this video. And I'm going to be honest, I think the Sundowns are the most impressive club in this group. And if you look at their domestic numbers, they got 65 goals for, 13 goals against, a plus 52 goal differential. And keep in mind, the South African League is nothing. It's not just a one-trick pony, right? Remember, you've got the Pirates. You've got the club that I can't think of his name, Stanley Mbale plays for, the Nigerian goalkeeper. You've got the Kaiser Chiefs. Look, this is not a bad league, and they have absolutely just owned it. I think they're going to win this group outright. Let that sink in. I really do. And then the fourth club on this list is Ulsan, the K League representative. And I think you could almost copy and paste what I said about the J League squad to the K League squad, which is, I don't even think they're the most impressive club right now in the K League. That's not to say that they're not a good squad. They are an above average squad, but I don't think I don't think they're the right representative at the right time right now. And again, I know this isn't current standing. This doesn't go off what's currently going on or anything like that. But unfortunately, I've got them finishing fourth. It's just a matter of not the best draw for them either. And with that said, we're going to head into our last two groups. And man, there are some big clubs coming up. So let's get into Group G. Now, in Group G, there are, in my opinion, three. Well, you're a big club if you make it to the Club World Cup. Let me make that clear. But I think there are three just monster clubs in this group. And unfortunately and I apologize if I'm saying this wrong, All In, I think they are, as I like to say, the sacrificial lamb of the group. And I've got them finishing fourth. Going in ABC order, the next club up is Juventus. And I think Hoovy is going to finish second. But I say that with not a lot of confidence because I don't know I don't know how serious Man City is going to take this. If Man City takes this serious, I think they are going to win the group. If they're letting off the brakes a little bit, I think Juventus is going to sneak up and win the league. But either way, I've got them finishing second and Man City finishing first. But if Juventus or Man City slip up just the slightest little bit, I think Wydad is going to sneak in at second. I've got them. I have to pick them finishing third. And by the way, there's rumors that Ronaldo may actually end up playing for Wydad. And Wydad is arguably, I would make an argument that they're the second or third best club in Africa right now. And they're out of Morocco. Insanely strong support out of Morocco, Casablanca especially. And they just signed the can't think of his name. The guy out of Hull City. His name slips my mind. But yeah, I'm rooting for Wydad to get in, but I can't pick them to finish second. I've got them finishing third, although I am rooting for somebody to slip up so they can sneak up and get second. Now we'll go on to the final group in the Club World Cup, which is Group H. Now, Group H is another one of those groups where I think second place is anybody's. And I know I said I wanted to go in ABC order, but let's go ahead and for the last group, just throw things all to hell. Obviously, I've got Real Madrid finishing first place in this group. Second place, though, it's hard. It really is. Salzburg, they are a Champions League squad, but they weren't the most impressive squad in their domestic league, which I think only has 12 clubs. And they didn't win the group. They didn't win. I'm sorry, they didn't win their domestic league, by the way. Pachua, I think, is just a slightly above average Liga Meki team. Al Halil, I want to pick second, but I don't know who is actually going to be in the club by the time it comes around because they have a lot of players that are slightly there, slightly not. I think they finished second or third in the Saudi Pro League. So you've got a bunch of, and by the way, if this was last year, I would pick Al Halil to finish second in a heartbeat. He's still got Mitrovic, but oh man, if you're putting me on the spot right now, I'm going to pick Salzburg to get second, Al Halil to get third, and Pachua to get fourth. But I say none of those with confidence. And if you think that I've got that completely wrong, trust me, I probably agree with you, even though I just disagreed with myself. So that is my predictions for Group H, which ends it. So let's go ahead and get to the in closing remarks and get this video done. If you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around to the end and looking at my predictions. I would love to hear what yours are. What do you think is the dark horse in this tournament? That's what I really want to know. I think my dark horse might be the Sundowns. As I had, well, I mean, I know I had them winning the group, but I think they are going to be my dark horse that I don't think a lot of people have winning the group, and I actually think they can make a run. And yeah, let me know your dark horse. Let me know what club you think is going to fall. Me personally, I think Al Halil is going to be the club that falls quite a bit, or maybe even Inter Miami. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Let me know your predictions. Be nice because this is very hard to do. And trust me, I could look like a genius or I could look like a complete fool. I completely understand that. Or I could have a mix of both. Who knows? That said, have an amazing week, guys. Be safe and I hope this week is everything you want it to be. Peace out, guys.